Everyone remembers that Alan Moore's Watchmen was supposed to take place in an alternate version of we, the readers' reality. What people often forget is that so far as the narrative tells us, it's only alternate starting at a certain point in history, specifically the publication of the first Superman comic in 1938. In our reality, it led to magazine publishers copying the character. In Watchmen's reality, it led to actual people copying the character. Of all the points and arguments made in Watchmen, this is the one spoken the loudest but somehow heard the least. In our world, superheroes exist only in comics where they can entertain, comfort, and even inspire us. In the Watchmen world, superheroes left comics for reality, and, spoiler warning, it didn't end well. The point couldn't be clearer. Comic book heroes and the real world do not belong together. Unfortunately, nobody seemed to get that point at the time, mostly because Watchmen wasn't coming out in a vacuum. Frank Miller's Batman The Dark Knight Returns, which reimagined DC's Caped Crusader as an aging, violent psychopath, but unlike Watchmen wasn't trying to make deep or ironic intellectual points about it, was hitting shelves in the same period, and they both got lumped together by the mainstream media as the shocking discovery that
comics aren't just for kids anymore.
Of course, that had always been true, and that there were always comics for a mature audience. What they meant was that comics about superheroes weren't just for kids anymore, a little idea that started a big movement. Suddenly, the comic industry's once secret cash cow, the technically adult fan, could come out of the closet with their hobby, because I guess we figured no one was going to tease us for still being obsessed with children's characters when said characters were in books full of this. Anyway, out and proud, mature readers had way more disposable income to spend than younger readers, so comic publishers started to turn their full attention in that direction. So if you want someone to blame for the utter wasteland that was mainstream comics in the 90s, you can blame, well, Todd McFarlane, but also readers roughly my age who encouraged him and everyone who was on mostly the same kick. But still mostly Todd McFarlane. So, once it got done all but destroying the American comics industry, this rather silly need for every facet of youth-oriented geek culture to get rejiggered into a grim and gritty update so that older fans didn't have to feel self-conscious about still being into it, has started to spread out into everything. And I'm kinda pretty much f***ing sick of it. Let me give you a perfect example. Yes, this again. Think about what the Transformers are. Toy cars that turn into toy robots. Bang! There you go. You get any closer to mechanically focus-grouped kidbait than that, and you'd pretty much be making funzo. Toy car, toy robot. There's not a little kid in the civilized world that needs that explained to them. Toy car, toy robot. Sandbox nirvana. So, why are the movies all about a guy in his late teens trying to get laid? Seriously, go back over these movies. 90% of the plot dynamic revolves around this guy's sex life. The first movie is literally all about him getting up the confidence to ask the walking real doll here. And in the next movie, when it's about anything, it's all about whether or not he can be a responsible adult about their relationship by resisting the sexual advances of other walking real dolls. Then there's another 18% or so that's about how awesomely mega awesome the US military hardware is, and a bunch of slop about conspiracies that's supposed to make the mythology sound all rich and complex, and then maybe 2% of it is about the toy robots. I mean, what the hell? It's one thing to take a premise that's pitched right over the plate at the sensibilities of younger kids and present it with a level of respect and intellectual maturity that an adult audience can find engaging as well, but it's something else entirely to take something that's aimed at kids and mark it up with superficially adult trappings so that now grown fans can feel like it grew up with them. Now, the early reviews are starting to come in on Thor. No, I haven't seen it yet because I don't live in Australia, where it apparently came out first for some reason, and while they're pretty positive overall, the one unifying point everyone seems to agree on is that it surprisingly appears more geared toward younger fans than other recent superhero movies. Apparently, this means that it's actually just about a guy with crazy powers fighting bad guys, instead of being, say, about impulse control issues or middle-aged existential crises, or some kind of vaguely supportive metaphor for the Patriot Act. Roll that around in your mind for a minute, folks. Nerd culture is at a point right now where the notion that the movie about the space Viking and his magic hammer might play better to 7-year-olds than 37-year-olds is considered a surprise. Am I the only one who notices that this is kinda backwards? Look, this isn't the first time I've gone off about this, and I'm not saying we should never give the gritty reboot thing a try, but maybe it could stand to be a little less all-consuming. Just a thought. I'm Bob, and that's the big picture.